You don't need to brace for impact every time things in your life start going good. Joy and happiness are not a setup. You're allowed to experience joy, happiness, good things without feeling like there's something bad that has to follow it. And I know that it's easy to get caught up in thinking things like, okay, things are working out really well for me right now, so what's the catch? And this is something that I used to do all the time is something good would happen or things would just be going really well in my life. And then there would always come a moment where I would stop and think, wait a second. Things are like way too good right now. What's the catch? Or this seems too good to be true. And almost instantly, once I would have that thought, that's when everything would go south. And then I'd be like, yep, I knew that was going to happen. Like I told you that was going to happen. I knew it. I knew this good thing wasn't going to last forever, or I knew that this good thing was too good to be true. But here's the thing is that the world or the universe, whatever you want to call it or whatever you think of it as, it's always just a reflection of you. So, whatever you believe to be true about yourself, or any stories that you hold on to as hardcore facts, whether you do this consciously or subconsciously, that is exactly what plays out for you and what you experience in your life. Because if you think about it, in this case, when we're talking about good things happening and bad things always showing up right afterwards, it's what we expect. So when the bad things show up immediately after, it's like we validate that and we're like, yep, I knew it. But if we know that bad things are going to happen and we don't want bad things to happen, right? Then why don't we just start thinking, you know what? There's something good in my life. Of course there is. I knew there was going to be something good coming into my life. I knew that it's going to stay. I knew that nothing bad is going to follow that. Because when you shift the way that you view things, when you shift your perspective on things, or even your interpretation, because every interpretation that you have in life is your own unique interpretation. It's coming from your perception, not anyone else's. So when you interpret a good thing as something good happens, but along with something good always has to come something bad, again, that is your belief because that's your interpretation and your perception of good things. But that doesn't mean that that's how it always has to be because your interpretations and your perception of things are malleable. They're not static, even though there are times where we feel like, yeah, this is a hardcore fact. It doesn't mean that it's a fact forever. It just means that's what we believe right now. But you can always change that. You can change what you believe. You can change the story that you give to things. So, when you want to experience good things in your life and nothing bad attached to it immediately afterwards, then you need to start telling yourself that story. You need to start interpreting good things as only good things and nothing less. Because when you do that, that's when you start to finally experience good things that happen to you without anything bad attached to it. And like I said, this is something that I used to deal with for a long time. I used to think that if something good came into my life, first of all, I used to think that nothing good could ever come in my life. So when something did come in, that was the reason why I would think, okay, this is too good to be true because good things don't just happen to me. Or good things don't just happen to me without something coming along and stripping it right from my fingers. So, all of these little stories or beliefs that I would tell myself, things that I knew to be a hardcore fact within myself, I have had to shift the way that I viewed those certain things. Because the moment that I shifted my interpretation and my perception of things, that's when I started to experience good things that actually stayed with no bad things attached to it. And I know it seems almost simple, but That's really how simple it is. It's about changing your perception of what you experience or what you see in your life. Because again, joy is not a setup. Life is not something that it's like life or things in life are not this I gotcha moment. Things in life are not a test. And that was another thing that I used to do is I'd be like, okay, this has to be a test, right? Like, this has to be a test. If something good came into my life, it had to be a test. Nothing is a test unless you think it's a test. If you want to continue being tested, go ahead and continue thinking that, right? And that was another thing that I used to think for years. So I would constantly be tested. And it always happened. It always played out for me because that was what I believed. So when you shift that, again, you're able to experience different things and you're able to experience things that you actually want for yourself. And it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. And this is the kind of thing that I work with my clients. So if you want to work with me, if you want to take away those blocks, those things that have been keeping you from experiencing the things that you actually want in your life or the things that you get a taste of but you want to hold on to, then my link is in the description. I do offer different types of mentorships. So take a look at that if you're interested. That does it for this one, guys. I will see you again next time. I love you. Bye.